This is Mom Squad Pod, your weekly update on tips, tricks, and all things parenting with Maureen Kyle.
It was probably about, I don't know, like a month and a half ago was when we really started to notice that we were having trouble finding it. And we got lucky a few times. My mom's an Amazon Prime member, so we got like some same day delivery. But she is on the sensitive, Similac sensitive, so that has been a little tricky finding that. I mean, you're checking everything. I checked Target brand, BJ's brand, Costco. I've had family members, friends, everyone looking anywhere they go. I've checked CVS, Walgreens, Discount Drug Mart. I've checked every place I can think of, and no one has had it. Yes, I know. So we ended up placing an online order. Placing an online order that took over a week to ship. So I thought for sure like this is going to get canceled because I've placed online orders before that just get canceled. This one luckily ended up coming through, and we are lucky enough to have enough to get till she's 1. So we transitioned her to home milk. So
oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Did you ever have that panic moment? Like, oh my gosh, I'm going to run out of formula and she's not going to be able to eat?
Yeah, I mean, I'm one of those people who always had like an extra can on hand because I've been always nervous about it. So it's when I opened my backup can and I was like, we have no more after this. And we couldn't find it anywhere. And then we also have to send a can to the sitter. She just has her own stash there. So like not only supplying us, but supplying the sitter, also nerve-wracking because I knew, she's probably getting low soon too. So it was definitely like a little bit of time where I got in touch with our pediatrician and I was like, what do I do? Because she said she's too young for cow's milk yet, so that we couldn't start that transition. So she just told me to keep an eye out and try things that weren't sensitive since she's older now and can probably tolerate a regular formula. So we kept an eye out for that, so we have some sensitive and some regular. So hopefully to get us through until she's 1 and we transition, we'll see how that goes. But it was definitely a scary little bit. I'm just thankful that she's at the age where she can get nutrients from other foods because she is, eating. Eating 3 meals a day on top of bottles. I have a couple friends that have newborns that are, under 12 weeks old and they're having trouble, or kids that have, milk allergies and can't find their soy or whatever it is that they're on. And it's heartbreaking to see the store shelves and worry about my friends. But so far, everyone I know has been stocking up and they've been okay at the moment.
That's good. When you talk to them, are they finding because I've been hearing about Facebook groups or, social media pages that are dedicated to, hey, call this store. I just saw a whole bunch of sensitive or I saw the soy. Are they finding it that way or what are they doing?
I know my one friend is on a Facebook group and keeps an eye on that kind of thing. But she also, from the time that her daughter was born, she was just in the position where she could, stock up from day one. And, there are some families out there that can't afford that, you know what I mean? That can't afford months worth of formula, so it's just, like they've been lucky on that end where they've been able to find it. She's also on, their daughter's on a Enfamil. So for a while you could get that a little easier than Similac, but now you can't even find that anywhere because so many people have switched.
Yeah. I find it interesting. Your pediatrician said that she's too young for cow's milk because then a pediatrician I talked to said you can start to mix that in, but it's not like the full nutrients. Like you can't go fully and that's it because she won't get all the nutrients that she needs. But like if you got to that point, what did you have a plan about what you were going to do if you couldn't get your hands on formula? Were you going to just do?
Honestly,
milk?
What I was going to do was just start trying to make my formula last longer by mixing it with whole milk and trying to at that point, like maybe doing 2 ounces of whole milk, 4 ounces of formula or whatever.
Yeah,
it lasts a little bit longer. She's 11 months, so it's not like they just recommend a year, but I think, obviously whole milk is going to be better than nothing at all. So that was kind of my plan, but we were lucky enough that our shipment came in. So we have what we need until she turns 1.
Yeah. I don't know if you're thinking about ever having another, but what if this happens again and you have a newborn? Have you thought about that?
I have. We're not talking about another one anytime soon, but you want to be the only child, is that what you're saying? Okay. Yeah. Oh, okay. I was one of those who was not able to breastfeed or even pump. I had no supply. And so that's why we switched to formula pretty early on. It might be something that like I try to look into see what else I can do to like increase supply and work a little harder in that regard. Or even if it becomes something where like if we decide to have another, I start stocking up early.
It's an awful situation for families and their children, as well as all of us who are supporting them through these challenges. It's something that we've grown accustomed to in this country, to think that we would have access to the food that we need when we need it, and have resources to help those who have the financial challenges. The supply chain issues is a first in many people's generation, or with it that they can ever remember. And so it's a super scary and stressful time.
And as a pediatrician, I'm sure you have patients who call you with all sorts of situations. And I'm just trying to put myself in the shoes of somebody who has an infant. And what if I'm one of those people, one of those moms who relies on formula and I cannot find it? If I was a patient of yours, I said, I cannot find formula, I need to feed my baby, or I'm running out, what would be your first piece of advice to me as a mother?
So for most babies, The reassuring fact is that they can tolerate almost any formula that is out there. So while it's hard to find the specific brands or the specific formulations that we're used to, and sometimes challenging to find any, the good news is that most babies, if you find a can, it's something that your baby can take. And I think knowing that we have those options is really helpful and can help to relieve a lot of anxiety that if you are patient and go to 1 or 2 stores, hopefully you're going to be able to find what you need.
Yeah. What about milk? When can babies start to have milk? And then I guess a question I always kind of had in the back of my mind is, why is it dangerous for babies of a certain age to have just milk that we buy at the grocery store? And then at what age do we get out of that concern?
So typically we recommend that babies not take regular milk until they're 1 year of age. Cow's milk, soy milk, other milk alternatives do not have the same nutritional balance that babies need. It doesn't have the right amount of fats, proteins, minerals, vitamins. Formula is very, very complex. And so it can set babies up for malnutrition, electrolyte disturbances. And if you get those electrolyte disturbances, they can cause some really severe health outcomes, fussiness, irritability, comas, potentially even death. So there's significant risks to introducing it too early. All of that being said, in today's day and age with this crisis going on, we recommend that if a baby is over 6 months of age and moms have no other alternatives, cannot access formula, it is okay to give cow's milk or soy milk for a brief period of time until hopefully this crisis comes to an end. And then as soon as you have access to formula again, recommend going back to that formula until your baby is 1 year of age.
I don't know if this is like an old wives' tale or something that, like my grandma would tell me about, if a family had trouble providing milk for a baby, that they would buy a family goat. And, in my own health research of like, what kind of food should I be eating? I always hear, goat's milk, sheep's milk is closest to a human milk. So is that something that people should think about? Is like, what do you know anything about goat's milk?
I would not recommend goat's milk. It has, at face value, if you look at the nutrition label, it has high levels of protein and vitamins and minerals. So it seems like it would probably be a reasonable alternative. However, it has too much. And too much can be hard on a baby's developing kidneys. And then can lead to issues with dehydration, electrolyte disturbances. And the example that you gave about going out and buying the actual cow, unpasteurized cow's milk or goat's milk can lead to infections. If there can be bacteria in there and it's not, safe for babies in that regard. And so we wouldn't want babies to get sick from the unpasteurized milk either.
Yeah. That's one of those. I always wondered, just because, grandparents, they're always like, oh, we put whiskey on their gums and we gave you, kids, whatever. It's always like, I wonder if there was any truth to that. So that clears that up. I'm glad.
Grandma remedies are good sometimes, not necessarily in this scenario.
Right. I've also heard people talk about breast milk banks or places where people can either donate breast milk, especially to NICUs, but in this case, where we are seeing this formula shortage, are you aware of any places where if somebody's very desperate and there is a baby that has special dietary needs, are there any breast milk banks, or is it safe to buy? I've heard of people buying and selling breast milk on the internet. I don't know if that's an option.
Yeah. So if you're going to purchase breast milk, recommend doing it from a certified breast milk bank. There are banks that will do screening for patients that are donating, right? So they make sure that their milk has adequate calories. They make sure that there's not any signs of infection in the milk, either from an infection that the mom has herself or from improper storage of the milk. And so if you get milk from a breast bank, it can be a safe alternative for your baby. It's expensive, but it is certainly an option that families can look into. Would not encourage folks to purchase or borrow breast milk from others that are not in one of these reputable banks because of those exact risks. Moms could have HIV, hepatitis. There could be toxins in their milk from medications that they're taking, substances that they've been abusing. And even women who are doing all of those things right and their breast milk is relatively safe, if it's not stored appropriately or it's stored and then frozen and then thawed, you can get levels of bacteria in the milk that may not be safe for a baby, especially a very young infant.
What's heartbreaking is, I mean, we saw NBC News had a mom who I think they said, and this is at this point during this interview, they had said two babies, they were aware of two babies that had to be admitted into the hospital because there was no formula that fit their dietary needs. What are some risks? I mean, that's an extreme case, but just in case anybody here is listening and watching and thinking, you know, my baby has dietary needs, I'm really concerned. Are there signs that there's malnutrition, or are there signs that they should be concerned about? And at what point do you get a doctor involved?
Yeah. So anytime that you have a concern about what your baby is taking, even if they're not having symptoms, absolutely, please reach out to your pediatrician or family medicine provider. We're happy to answer any questions and concerns to help prevent those challenges. And then what you want to look for would be changes in your child's baseline. So are they more fussy or irritable? Are they more sleepy? Do they seem like they're super hungry or not hungry at all, and just having a decreased interest in wanting to eat? Vomiting would be a sign, too much sleep, and really just parent intuition. When something's not right, let us know.
Thanks for listening to Mom Squad Pod with Maureen Kyle from WKYC Studios. Subscribe now so you never miss an update. And find more on everything you heard here on WKYC.com and on the WKYC app.